Hi and welcome. This is Jennifer McGuire and thank you so much for visiting today. I thought it'd be fun if I did some front flap card designs. I've done a few variations of this in the past and I'll link to another video here with more ideas. But the idea is to take large die cuts, or you could create your own shapes, and create a flap on the front of the card that reveals the message inside. It's just a nice variation and something a little different. So I think I'll start with the rainbow cards first, and let me show you what the completed cards look like. So the rainbow lifts up and you can see your personal message underneath. I'm actually going to create two of these at the same time, one with regular cardstock and one with glitter cardstock. I couldn't decide what to make, so I decided to make both. Now for this, I'm using a new die set from My Favorite Things. This is called Straight Up Rainbow, and it comes with the stripes, the cloud, and then a little smiley face that you can add to the cloud if you want to. I'm actually going to show you another use for those stripe dies later on, so stay tuned for that. So I die cut a bunch of stripes from scraps of cardstock that I had in rainbow colors. And now I have a piece of thin white cardstock that I am covering with adhesive, and now I'm positioning all of my little stripes down in rainbow order. There are a few different ways you could do this, but I liked that I could connect all the different pieces together by putting them on the white cardstock. I'm going to do this twice with the regular cardstock scraps, and then I'll do it twice with some glitter paper. The glitter paper that I'm using today is from Memory Box. They have two pads of glitter paper. One has pastels and one has brights. These are the brights, and I'll have those linked below too. I like that there are multiple different colors in the packs and the glitter doesn't rub off. Okay, so now I'm going to trim along the edge, but I'll keep a little bit of white there at the top of the rainbow on each of these pieces. This will allow me to create a hinge at the top of our card for the rainbow flap to open to reveal the message inside. Now that my rainbows are ready, it's time to die cut several clouds. I'll do one cloud from glitter cardstock that's like a soft pool color. Then I'm going to do a cloud for the other card from these Thermoweb white flock sheets. There are many great techniques you can do with these flock sheets, but what I'm doing today is just die cutting a shape from them. It has a nice soft feel and I thought it'd be fun for a cloud. I also used the face to die cut the little smile on each of these. I'm also using the cloud die to cut from craft foam. That way I can have some dimension behind my specialty cloud. Okay, on my glitter cloud with the face cut from it, I'm putting some strong Connect adhesive from Gina, just a nice liquid adhesive, and then gluing that onto a white craft foam cloud, so we have some dimension behind it. I also now can put the face pieces into the little openings. So I'm putting pink cardstock for the cheeks and then black cardstock that I cut for the eyes and the mouth. And they fit in there like a little die cut puzzle. I will do the same for the other card from the flocked cloud, and I'll have that ready too. For the background, I'm using the My Favorite Things Cloud Edges Stencil. I'm putting this over a piece of Hero Arts Arctic cardstock, and I'm using Gina Sea Glass ink and a blending brush. I pull the ink from on the stencil to the cardstock, and it just creates these cloud-like highlights that I think are nice for a subtle background. I'm applying the ink very lightly, just so that it's not too distracting from the rainbow, and I'll be able to write my message on it. If you want a heavier amount of ink, you could definitely do that. Now, one of the things that I like about these cloud stencils is you have the 4 different cloud edges, or you can flip the stencil over and have 4 additional patterns. So you can really create a fun looking cloud background. For one of my cards, I did this blue background with blue ink, and on one of the other cards, I did a white background with blue ink. Now it's time to create the hinge for our rainbow. I'm using my scoreboard and I'm scoring right above the end of our strips. So you can see there's a nice fold line there, and I'll reinforce that with my bone folder. And this will be the hinge that allows us to open on the front of our card. I'm putting adhesive on the inside of this little flap, and then I will glue that behind our cloud background. So we have our rainbow that flips up at the top. Next, we can add our cloud. This is the regular cardstock rainbow, so I'm using the cloud with the flocking on the top and the craft foam on the back. I'm adhering that to the bottom of our rainbow, being careful not to glue the cloud onto the background. I want it to be able to flip up. Now I want the back of the rainbow piece to look nice too. So I'm taking that other rainbow background we created earlier, trimming the white piece that was sticking off the top, cutting that off, and then I'll glue this onto the back of our rainbow. Not going too close to the hinge there at the top of the blue piece because we want it to be able to open freely. Next, we need to add a cloud back there too, just so it looks nice. So this is just a white die-cut cardstock cloud that I'm gluing back there. I did want to have a little smiley face on that cloud, but think about it, that cloud die cut is upside down. It's a backwards die cut, so it lines up with the one on the front. So I'm going to die cut from the flock and the glitter paper upside down. So I'm putting the die on my glitter paper, but the glitter is facing down, and I'll run it through my die cut machine, and now I have the reverse of the die cut with the pretty side on the side that we want to show on the inside of our card. So I did that with the flocking paper and the glitter paper. Now I'm putting adhesive on that and we can glue it to the inside of our card. Now we have a little smiley face when you open the card too. And once again, I'll add the pink and black die cut pieces for the face. Okay, the last step for assembling the card itself is to glue this onto a background so that it has some stability. That blue piece was 4 by 5 1/4. And I'm gluing it onto a piece of white cardstock that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. If you wanted, you could glue this to a note card, but I plan to have the only opening on this card to be that rainbow flap that goes open. I just think it's a fun and different design. Okay, now here is a fun tip for you with the sentiments. I'm using a few different sentiments from this My Favorite Things Smile Maker stamp set. I'm also using the stripe die from the rainbow set that I showed you earlier. I have taped the stripe dies down with the cutting edge face down onto black cardstock. I have it in my MISTI stamping tool, and in those openings, I'm lining up my sentiments. I then can close the door on my MISTI, pick up all those sentiments, remove the die, we'll use it again in a moment, and we'll go ahead and stamp this with VersaMark ink and add white embossing powder. So I really only needed one sentiment for this card, but I'm going to create others to save for later because I'm using that die set to really help out with it. Okay, so I added my white embossing powder and I'll heat set it. Now I can take the die set, I kept them all connected, and lay that right over our sentiments. And it'll line up nicely because we positioned it perfectly before. Now I can pop them out and check it out. I have some sentiment strips and some solid strips ready to go. You could do this with any sentiment strip die set you may have. I thought it was perfect with this rainbow one. Now I wanted some dimension on the back of these sentiments, so I took the plain black sentiment strips and glued them on the back. I feel like this gives more stability than using craft foam. I can glue that right onto the rainbow, and then we just have a few finishing touches to do on this particular card. I wanted some sparkle on the cardstock, so I'm using my Tonic Aqua Shimmer pen just to color over all of the rainbow strips. This will give some subtle sparkle that is really nice in real life. I then also added a little bit of that shimmer to the cheeks, and then I added glossy accents over that too, so it would have some shine. Okay, let's look at the completed cards. First, we have the one with the regular cardstock and the cloud that's soft thanks to that flocking. So here you can see the shimmer on the rainbow. We have the little bit of dimension and shine to the cheeks, the softness on the cloud, and you can see our blue background with the subtle clouds stenciled there. You open up the flap and you can see the personal message inside, and also the rainbow and the cloud there too. I'm really crazy about this rainbow die set. I think it'd also be fun to do the rainbow coming down with a heart instead of a cloud at the bottom. Okay, here is the glitter version. So I have the glitter cloud and the glitter stripes. The sentiment on this one is from the My Favorite Things More Essential Sentiment stamp set, which I've used many times in the past. On this one, the background is white cardstock with the blue cloud stenciled on. And then I put it onto a Hero Arts Arctic cardstock backing. So there are two examples for a front flap card design that I think is really a nice change over a traditional card. Okay, for my next card, we have a balloon that's partially up there in the corner, and that opens up to reveal the message underneath. Again, I didn't put this on a traditional note card that opens. The only flap is the balloon itself. For this, I'm using the My Favorite Things Perfect Fit Balloon die set. I thought this large balloon that sits in the corner of your card would be fun for this front flap card design. I die cut the balloon from white glitter cardstock from the Memory Box Pastel glitter pack that I talked about earlier. I decided to add color to this in a rainbow, so I'm using the side of my Copic marker tips just to add some color, and you can actually kind of blend by overlapping the colors on here. So I just used some basic colors, did a little overlapping, and ended up with a rainbow on my balloon. This is a fun way to change the look of your plain white glitter cardstock. I did heat set it when I was dry just to make sure that the color stayed, and it didn't come off on my fingers, so I thought I was good to go. For the sentiment, I'm using the Swirly birthday die. I really like the look of this, but I thought I'd change it up to just say happy birthday so it fit better on my card. So here I have 3 pieces of cardstock glued together so that it has dimension. The bottom is white and then the top 2 are black. And I'm cutting off the words to you, and I can save the U for another card. And now I just have happy birthday alone. I like to change up my sentiments like this to make it a perfect fit. I also wanted to add a small bit of stamping to the white background on my card. I have this older, I think it's discontinued, confetti stamp from My Favorite Things, and I'm stamping it with VersaMark Ink. Now you can see there's some gray there. That's because my stamp was dirty, but that's okay, I just left it. And then I added some sparkle embossing powder and heat set it. I thought that would be a nice subtle background that adds a little sparkle, a little bit of interest, but not too distracting from the rest of the card. Okay, next I need to create a hinge for my balloon. This is a piece of scrap white cardstock that's about 3 inches wide and about 1.5 inches, and I just scored down the center. This will be a little flap for that balloon. Really doesn't matter the size of it. I just made it as big or as wide as I could to fit behind the balloon. I'm putting adhesive on the back of one of these flaps, and I'll glue that right to the top back of our balloon, and you can see how this forms a hinge for it. Next, we'll need another balloon that will glue to the other part of the hinge. This balloon will glue to the front of our card, so I'm just going to use plain white cardstock. This is what we'll actually write our personal message on. But I need to trim this balloon to be a little bit shorter so that it doesn't get in the way of the hinge up there. We want that hinge to be able to lay flat. So I cut about 1/8 of an inch off the top of our white cardstock balloon. Now I can glue that onto the hinge. So I'm putting some adhesive on this part, this flap that's sticking off, and then I will line up my white cardstock balloon with the front balloon and close that flap. So this is what's going to get glued to the front of our card. We need to make this look a little bit nicer by covering up that inside flap that's on the back of the rainbow. So I die cut another white balloon, trimming a little bit off the top once again so that the hinge has some room to work freely. And then I will glue this on the back inside. By doing this, we also cover up all the hinges. So all you see is what looks like a part of a balloon that's shaped like a card. This will get glued onto the front of our polka dot panel that we created. First, I'm going to go ahead and glue down the sentiment. So I put some adhesive on the back of that, and I put it towards the bottom corner of our polka dot piece. And by the way, that polka dot piece is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Now I'm putting adhesive on the back of our little rainbow card and gluing it to the top left of our background. I ended up moving it over so it didn't cover up our sentiment, so I'll just cut off that part of the rainbow balloon that's hanging off the edge. The last step is to use this string die, and I die cut it from some silver cardstock scraps. Die cut it twice and glued it together so it was a little more sturdy, and now I'm gluing at the base of our rainbow balloon, and I'll just hold it there while it dries. To finish off the card, I did add some Lucy's Cards Iridescent gemstones, just to catch some sparkle and color in the background. Here you can see the sparkle on our balloon and the little polka dots in the background. To show the message, all you have to do is lift up the balloon, and there you can see the personal message inside. You can see how this balloon die was great for this technique. If you don't have a large balloon like this, you could also do a large circle die cut or trace and cut your own circle. Add a little knot sticking off the bottom, and you can do a similar design too. Okay, here is my last example for today. This time I have a large die cut flap that opens to show the personal message underneath. This shows that you can use pretty much any basic shape die to create a front flap card design. This is the My Favorite Things Hip Hip Hooray die set. It's got that banner die with faux stitching on the inside edge, and also the words Hip Hip Hooray. I like that these are perfectly sized, so you can use them together or separately. Off screen, I used that large die to die cut from white cardstock, and I used a blending brush to blend a rainbow of Gina K inks together. You could ink this up however you want, or even use pattern paper. I also wanted to add a cute little stamped image, so I used the My Favorite Things Birthday Buds stamp set. I've used this in a video before, and I'll link to it up here on the top right if you want to check it out. I'll be using the bunny with the balloon, and I'm stamping this with black ink directly onto our rainbow background. I will also stamp it with black ink onto white cardstock. This is Gina K Obsidian Black Amalgam ink, which is great for using with Copic markers. So that's why I chose to use that black ink. Okay, so now I'm going to glue the Hip Hip Hooray down while the black ink dries completely. I die cut Hip Hip Hooray 3 times from white cardstock and glued them together so they have some dimension. We need to create our hinge next, so I have a piece of white cardstock that's as wide as our banner die. And then I just did a score line down the center, and there we have a hinge. The sizing really doesn't matter on this. It's a great way to use up some scraps. On one of the flaps, I've put some adhesive, and I'll glue that to the top back of our rainbow banner. You just want to make sure that the crease of this lines up with the top of your die cut. Okay, we need 2 more of the banner die cuts in white cardstock. And again, I'm going to trim a little bit off, about 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 of an inch, off the top of each of them so that the hinge has some room to open and close freely. I'm going to glue this one on the back of our rainbow die cut just to hide the hinge and give it a nice finished look. Okay, I have my other white banner die cut, and I've already cut a little bit off the top of it. I'm putting adhesive on the flap, and then I'm going to line this banner die cut up on the front, then close the flap on it, and there we have like a mini card. In fact, you could make a card this shape. You could leave it like this, but I decided to add it onto a background. So here I have some black and white stripe pattern paper from My Favorite Things. They have a great black and white stripe 6x6 pad that has these horizontal or vertical stripes and then also diagonals. I cut a piece to be 4 1/4, actually it's 4 by 5 1/4, and added it to a white background that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I glued my little banner flap card onto the front of it, and then off screen I colored in my white bunny with a little bit of Copic marker and fussy cut it right up against the black stamped edge. I then glued that onto our card flap. And I did the same with the balloon. By stamping it on our background, I have that string that lines up nicely. I added some shimmer to our balloon and then put a thick coat of glossy accents so it would shine perfectly like a balloon. I also added some white iridescent gemstones from Lucy's cards in the background. So you can see how this particular die set worked really well with this front flap card design, but you could use a large rectangle die here, you could use a large square, whatever you want, or even hand cut a shape. I do like the faux stitching on the edge, so it gives it a nice finished look. Okay, so there you have a few ideas for creating fun front flap card designs. I hope you'll try this. If you're interested in the different products that I use, they are linked below in my YouTube description. But remember, you can do these designs with products that you have on hand. I have a couple other videos linked in the middle that have similar techniques that I think you might enjoy. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon, and please stay healthy.